Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the inner sanctum.
Domestic espionage today, David Harding, Counterspy, starring Don MacLachlan and Mandel-Kramer from 74 years ago today, May 23rd, 1948, in the case of the Housing Racket. And we thank you for tuning in with us here on this Monday, 23rd day of May, 143rd day of the year, 222 days until we get to 2023. Mexico declared war on the U.S. on this date in 1846 in the Mexican-American War. The first talking cartoon of Mickey Mouse, the Carnival Kid, released on this date in 1929. Bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde ambushed by police and killed on this date in 1934. Heinrich Himmler, the leader of the SS, committed suicide on this date in 1945 while he was in Allied custody. Prime Minister of Israel David Ben-Gurion announced on this date in 1960 that Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann had been captured. Rock band The Who released the first rock opera Tommy on this date in 1969, and the song, one of my favorites from that, Pinball Wizard. On Capitol Hill on this date in 1976, a secretary for Democrat Congressman Wayne Hayes of Ohio claimed she was being paid to be his mistress. 27-year-old Elizabeth Ray told the Washington Post she couldn't type, file, or even answer the phone. Congressman Hayes, who had divorced his wife of 38 years and married his veteran Ohio office secretary shortly before this story broke, talked to reporters.
Well, let me say that my family and I are deeply disturbed about this, and I'm very much concerned about its effect on my wife of 6 weeks, for whom I have a deep love and affection. And let me say categorically that Miss Ray was never hired for any other purpose than to work from 9 to 5.
Now, Hayes would later admit to many of the allegations except that Ray was his mistress. He would not admit to that. He resigned from Congress September of 1976. In 1984, President Reagan praised William Casey, his embattled CIA director, in an appearance with Casey a day after a House subcommittee report implicated the spy chief in the pirating of President Carter's briefing papers during the 1980 presidential campaign.
We found that over a dozen officials and aides in the Reagan-Bush campaign saw Carter briefing papers or actually used them, yet no one seems to know just how they got them. We do not find that believable. False statements to a congressional investigation are potential violations of federal law.
Congressman Donald Alpcosta, the Democrat from Michigan, Casey would die of a brain tumor in 1987 at the age of 74. U.S. engineer Donald Patrick Kavanaugh sentenced to life in prison on this date in 1985 for attempting to sell stealth bomber secrets to the Soviet Union. And the final first-run episode of Star Trek The Next Generation on this date in 1994, the first syndicated series to ever be nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Drama Series. The series received a number of accolades, including 19 Emmy Awards, 2 Hugo Awards, 5 Saturn Awards, and a Peabody Award. And on this date in 1995, in Oklahoma City, what was remaining of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building imploded. And I still want to refer to that, and still do, as the first terrorist attack on U.S. soil. In 1999, World Wrestling Entertainment superstar Owen Hart fell to his death during the pay-per-view Over the Edge at Kemper Arena in Kansas City after a botched entrance stunt. 7 people, including the perpetrator, killed and another 14 injured on this date in 2014 in a killing spree near the campus of the University of California, Santa Barbara. 46 people killed on this date in 2015, maybe more, as a result of floods caused by a tornado in Texas and Oklahoma. And it was on this date in 2017, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte declared martial law in Mindanao following the Islamic terrorist group the Mates attack in Marawi. And I have to tell you that that is an offshoot of Al-Qaeda that still remains strong today. Passing away on this date in history, the delightful comedian Moms Mabley, actor Georgie Jessel, actor Sterling Hayden, and in not only Owen Hart, but a couple of other pro wrestlers of note, Ray Candy, and the saddest one is 2 years ago today, Hana Kimura, a Japanese professional wrestler who committed suicide because of cyberbullying. It was not a pretty story and still remains so to this day. Also passing away on this date, Roger Moore, both the Saint and James Bond, and actress, comedian, playwright, the very funny Ann Mira. This is the birth date of Douglas Fairbanks, the original, also Herbert Marshall, the man called X, Scatman Crothers, another delightful entertainer, clarinetist, bandleader Artie Shaw, actress-dancer Betty Garrett, Alf from Green Acres and Charlie on the Danny Thomas Show, Sid Melton, singer Helen O'Connor, singer and actress Rosemary Clooney. I have a number of episodes of the Rosemary Clooney Bing Crosby Show, which we can't air because it's all tied up with music stuff. And inventor Robert Moog, the man who invented the synthesizer, or at least made it practical for general use. TV's Mrs. Barney Miller, Barbara Barry, 91 years old today. Actress Joan Collins, 89. Kathy from Father Knows Best, little Kathy, Lawrence Chapin, 77 today. My gosh, Shelley West, Dottie West's daughter, 64 years of age today, fine country singer. Also, writer Mitch Albom is 64. The very funny Drew Carey is 64 and now hosting The Price is Right. The kind of, I hate to say this, the dramatic offshoot of the original Price is Right, which was done by a much better host. And that, of course, no, I'm not talking about Bob Barker. I'm talking about Bill Cullen, who was the dean of game show hosts. But anyway, Drew Carey, 64 years old today. From Dumb and Dumber, Karen Duffy is 60. Singer Jewel is 48, and you knew him in the WWE as Bray Wyatt, the former Bray Wyatt, as he is now away from pro wrestling for the time being. Wyndham Rotunda, 35 years old. And I don't remember. My brain isn't working right. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but I know he is I believe he's the son of Mike Rotunda, as I recall. Anyway, he's 35 years old. Those some of the people celebrating the 23rd day of May as their birthday. If this is your birthday,
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Before I get to our first break, I want to say that I was right, but I still left a couple of things out. You may or may not be a wrestling fan, and if you're not, sorry. But we talk about this young man and having a brain in the business. He is not a second-generation wrestler. He's a third-generation wrestler because his father was, of course, Mike Rotunda, but his grandfather was Black Jack Mulligan. And those of you who have been wrestling fans for a while, that's something that might impress you even more. And also, he has two uncles that you might have heard of, Barry and Kendall Windham. So they are also pro wrestlers, and his younger brother, Taylor Rotunda, was best known as Bo Dallas, who never really got anywhere in the business, at least as far as I know. Alrighty, now that I have wrestle-talked you out of this, an episode of Counterspies starring Don McLaughlin, Mandel-Kramer from 74 years ago, May 23rd, 1948, on this Monday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month. And that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
The buy one, get one free special going on now at MyPillow. MyPillow bed sheets, Giza Elegance MyPillows, the roll and go anywhere MyPillows, and 6-piece towel sets on special. Go to mypillow.com/USA, use promo code USA, or call 1-800-951-8175 and find out all the great deals you can get right now at MyPillow. mypillow.com/USA. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox from 74 years ago, May 23rd, 1948. Don McLaughlin, Mandel-Kramer, Counterspy.
David Harding, Counterspy, presented by the makers of Old Nick and Bitter Honey Candy Bar.
Washington, calling David Harding, Counterspy. Washington, calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Harding, Counterspy, calling Washington.
David Harding, Chief, United States Counterspies, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad, and to secure for every American the rights which are his under our Constitution.
Honey?
Andy, I didn't expect you to come home.
Well, I couldn't do any work after you called and told me about Kathy. How is she?
The doctor's still with her. Andy, he thinks it might be pneumonia.
Well, how did she look?
Feverish. She was whimpering when the doctor came. You feel so powerless when they're so young. They can't tell you what hurts, what's wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Andy, she'll be all right, won't she?
Of course she will, darling. Now, why don't you rest for a while? You didn't sleep at all last night.
Oh, neither did you.
Well, let's not argue the point.
Oh, hello, Mr. Gorham.
Oh, hello, Doctor.
Oh, you didn't have to come home from work.
I called him, Doctor.
I wanted to. The baby's... Well, how is she, Doctor?
Oh, she's holding her own, Mr. Gorham. I'd like to order a portable oxygen tent just as a precaution.
Well, order whatever you need.
It may be a little expensive.
Doc, it doesn't matter.
I know. I just wanted to keep everything straight. Now, is there another room in the house that we could move her to?
Well, sure.
Well, what do you want to move her for, Doctor?
Well, I'd like a place that isn't quite as damp and drafty.
Oh.
That's the driest room we have except for the kitchen.
Oh, I see. Well, we'll manage all right.
This whole place drips water 3 days after every rain.
Really? I thought these houses were just built.
They were, but not very well.
Oh. Well, don't longer. We'll move her to the hospital.
Yeah, sure. Say, tell me, Doctor, this house has been damp and drafty from almost the first month we moved in. Could living here have caused Kathy's pneumonia?
Well, now, I wouldn't like to be pinned down as to the cause, but... Well, I'd certainly say that living here hasn't helped to avoid it.
I see.
Well, Kathy will get better, won't she?
Yes, but...
But what, Doctor?
Well, if you can manage it, I think she should get out of this climate for a while. I should suggest the South for a month or two.
The South?
Thanks, Doctor. We'll take your advice.
Andy,
We'll talk it over, Edie.
Well, now, I'll get back to my patient.
Andy, we can't afford a trip south at this time.
You bet we can.
Oh, where will the money come from?
From this dream house we bought. We're not going to make any more payments on it. We'll use the money to send you and Kathy south for a while.
Yes, but what about the money we've already put into the house?
Well, I'll think of something.
Oh, darling, we can't afford to lose all that.
Can we afford to lose Kathy?
Andy.
I'm sorry, honey. I shouldn't have said that. I just don't want you to worry about anything except her.
If we're not going to give Mr. Hobbs any more money, what will we do when we get the mortgage statement?
I'm not sure, darling, but that's not your worry.
All right, Andy.
Now, you start planning for that trip south. The minute the doctor says okay, you and Kathy go.
Andy, you didn't have to get a roomette on the train. We could have gone by day coach.
Edie, it's already paid for. Don't fret about it. Enjoy it.
All right.
Kathy looks good, doesn't she?
Oh, I hope she takes the trip all right.
Well, she's starting off okay. Sleeping like a log on that seat.
Oh, this has been a lot of excitement for a 1-year-old.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, darling, I wish you could go with us.
So do I. Somebody has to work.
What are you doing about the mortgage payments, Andy?
Well, I've been talking to some of our neighbors in the development, and they've been stuck just like we have.
Uh-huh.
Together, we may work something out.
Oh, don't get into any trouble, Andy.
I won't, darling. But don't you worry about it. Just have a good time. Well, now I'd better get off this train or I'll be going with you.
Goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye, darling. Mr. Bradley? Andy Gorham. Yes. Can you come over to my place tonight about 8 o'clock? Yeah, that's right. See what we can do about these salt boxes that were sold to us as houses. Good. I'll expect you. Harold? Andy. 8 tonight okay for you? Yeah, my place. Right. Be seeing you. Tommy? Andy. We're going to meet here tonight. Count on you? Good. 8 o'clock. Bye. I know some of us here paid a little more for our houses than the rest of us. A larger house or more land. But whatever you paid, I think we're all agreed that it was too much for what we got.
No question about that.
Now, our individual complaints are pretty similar. Green wood, flooded cellars, crumbling foundations, poor flashings, bad drainage. Well, you know them as well as I do.
Perhaps better, Andy.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But the point is, the majority of them can be repaired.
At whose expense?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to sink any more money into my house.
You won't have to, Tommy. At least I hope not.
And who will, Mr. Gorham?
If we all stick together, Mr. Bradley, I think we can make the Oak Nub Real Estate Company bear the expense.
What? You've been drinking, Andy?
No, I'm serious.
It's a nice dream. Yeah, but that's all it is. Mr. Hobbs of the real estate company has only one interest in these houses now. It's not repairing them. It's collecting on the mortgages.
Right, Tommy. And that's our weapon. We refuse to pay those mortgages.
What?
Until steps are taken to remedy our complaints.
What about foreclosure?
Well, that is a possibility, Mr. Bradley, and we should face it. But if we all stick together, I doubt that Mr. Hobbs will foreclose on 45 houses at once.
It would certainly be bad publicity if he did.
Whether or not that will bother him, I don't know. But not getting his money will.
Can we get in trouble, though?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. I think we should get legal advice and keep the whole affair above board.
Well, how'd you go about it, Mr. Gorham?
Well, I believe we should draw up a statement of what we intend to do and why. And then send copies of it to the government housing authorities, the Veterans Administration, and any other federal and state agencies concerned, just to get ourselves on the record.
It's a good idea.
Very sound.
Now, after that, we pool our monthly mortgage statements and appoint one man to present them to Mr. Hobbs, to tell him that they won't be paid until our homes are made habitable and worth the purchase price agreed on. Now, that's the whole idea. How do you feel about it?
Well, it's certainly better than just putting up with paying for these cracker boxes.
I'll go along with it.
I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Bradley.
Count me in. And I'll make the first motion of this informal association. That Andy Gorham be the man we appoint to talk to Mr. Clifford Hobbs. Huh?
All right, I will. And I'll do my best to get more out of him than just conversation.
Counterspy headquarters. Yes, Mr. Secretary, I'll connect you. Counterspy headquarters. Busy. Hold on, please. Yes, Mr. Harding.
Mr. Peters, please.
Mr. Peters, thank you.
Peters, you come into my office for a minute, Peters. Okay, Chief. And bring a copy of that memorandum from the Veterans Administration. Which one? That letter from the ex-GIs who are refusing to honor their mortgage statements. Oh, yes. Be right in, Chief.
What do you think about it, Peter? Well, from the way they describe their houses, Chief, I sympathize with them, but I don't see that there's anything we can do.
Or we could conduct an investigation.
Of what? There's no visible cause for criminal proceedings.
As I know. Still, 2 agencies have already called asking us to investigate.
Oh?
The Federal Housing Administration and the National Association of Home Builders.
Association of Home Builders? That's a private builder's outfit, isn't it?
Yes, reputable builders in all large cities.
What's their interest in this?
Well, a story like this is bound to get publicity. The public will read that publicity, and they'll cast all contractors and home builders in the same role as this Oak Nub Realty Company. They won't differentiate.
So the National Association wants to get on record as opposing these practices?
That's it.
And the FHA?
They don't think any outfit that can stir up as much resentment as this company did could be completely legitimate.
Then we do investigate.
I think we should, Peters. I want you to assign 2 agents to check the company's incorporation papers and any other related documents of public record.
Right, Chief.
Also get train reservations for us to Asheville. We'll question this man who signed this letter for the veterans, this Andrew Gorham.
Program creator Phillips H. Lord had issues with J. Edgar Hoover. They got into some tips over content in Gangbusters, also a Lord's production, and so he created this show, Counterspy. That's why this show is not another FBI show. May 23rd, 1948, Counterspy on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secrets to lose 3 to 5 pounds a week easily without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt by Med Diet. For the last 2 decades, we've been helping people just like you that have pounds they want to shed. We've helped millions of people lose thousands and thousands of pounds over the years. And now it's your turn. Learn the secrets of how to lose weight with one simple phone call. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a money-back guarantee. If you're ready to start losing weight right now, call right now to learn more about your risk-free order to Body Sculpt.
Call for your risk-free offer. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. That's 800-738-5332.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt. Your shoulder hurts. Your elbow and back are constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here's something you haven't tried. Pain Magic. Pain Magic is not available at any drugstore. The only place you can get it is by calling the special toll-free number I'm about to give you.
And to make things even better, call right now and find out about our buy one, get one free offer. We're so confident it'll work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription required.
Call now to learn how you can get Pain Magic and get rid of your pain. Remember, your results may vary.
800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. That's 800-492-8164.
Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Monday, an episode of Counterspy, as it was originally broadcast at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time over ABC, Sunday, May 23rd, 1948. In the newspapers of that Sunday, some 74 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Governor Thomas E. Dewey stopped Harold Stassen in Oregon Saturday, a major setback for the Minnesota contender for the Republican presidential nomination. He gave the New York governor 12 GOP delegates pledged to support him at the convention. Stassen conceded his defeat in Minnesota as tabulations of Friday's Oregon primary balloting continued to maintain Dewey's margin at around 6,000 votes. The possibility of larger meat supplies at lower retail prices cheered housewives Saturday as CIO meat handlers prepared for a return to work in most packing plants throughout the nation tomorrow. Sources in the meatpacking industry said settlement of the 67-day-old strike against 3 of the Big 4 meat packers Friday probably would result in a spur of livestock receipts for 2 or 3 weeks. Bigger receipts, they said, probably will be reflected in lower retail prices. The CIO United Auto Workers Saturday accused Chrysler Corporation of planning to use foremen and office workers as strike breakers on Monday and hinted the plan might lead to violence. Norman Matthews, the leader of the UAW's 11-day Saturday Chrysler strike, made the charge when informed the 2 non-striking groups would be used next week to take inventory, a task normally assigned to UAW members. All congressional plans for drafting 18-year-old youths reportedly junked yesterday. A member of the Senate Armed Services Committee said 12 of its 13 members have agreed to revise its selective service bill to strip out the section calling for 1 year of compulsory military training for 161,000 of the 18-year-olds. The Republican from South Dakota, Chairman Gurney, refused to comment, but it was learned that he had been checking the committee members on this point. Under the new proposal, 18-year-olds would be allowed to volunteer for 1 year of service. 10 senators called for the closing of special displaced persons camps for Jews in Europe. They proposed in a letter to the president that the United States make facilities available to transport those in those camps to Israel. Egyptian mobile forces Saturday night reached Bethlehem, only 5 miles from the embattled city of Jerusalem, where the Arab Legion has Jewish defenders bottled in the old walled city. The arrival of the Egyptian troops in Bethlehem was announced in an Egyptian communique, which also said a mobile column was pushing northward along the Mediterranean coast. The force in Bethlehem was apparently going to join up with the Transjordan Arab Legion in the battle for Jerusalem. And the official Russian news agency TASS blamed the U.S. for the UN's failure to control and reduce armaments. It issued a lengthy statement through the Soviet monitor in London, presenting what it called the position of leading Soviet circles. Those some of the day's top news stories, as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, May 23rd, 1948, on your radio Counterspy. The conclusion next on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
On Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater, an episode of Arch Oboler's Plays from 77 years ago, May 24th, 1945, an exercise in horror starring Peter Lorre. Complaining that there have been no horror shows on the series Arch Obler's plays thus far, Laurie convinces Arch Obler to cause goosebumps on a bowling ball. That will be coming up on Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater. But now the conclusion of Counterspy, Mandel-Kramer, Don McLaughlin, from 74 years ago, May 23rd, 1948.
Now, back to our Old Nick, David Harding Counterspy case.
Let's drop the act, Mr. Hobbs. You know perfectly well that not a single one of us is satisfied with this house.
I hope you didn't come in here just to argue.
No, Mr. Hobbs, I didn't. I came in to give you these. Here.
What are they?
A mortgage statement you mailed out a few days ago. All 45 of them.
What?
And until you do something about the condition of the Oak Nub homes, that's all you're going to get every month. Your statement's back again.
I'm not sure I understand.
It's simple enough, Mr. Hobbs. You either take care of the complaints we made about the houses, or we refuse to pay for
You
it.
can't do that. I'll foreclose on you.
If you'd like to make 45 foreclosures with the publicity that would result, go ahead.
I'll take you to court.
That may do some good. We'll find out in court.
Now, look here, Gorham. Isn't there some way we can get together on this thing?
Yes.
How?
Start repairs on the houses. All 45 of them.
Now, look. I can't spend the company's money on my own say-so. I've got investors and stockholders to think of.
And we've got families to think of. We paid for decent places to live, and we want them.
Now, why don't you be sensible about this, Gorham?
Just what do you consider sensible?
Well, you made a lot of complaints about your house. Suppose I take care of those complaints.
And the other houses in the development?
Forget them. Worry about yourself.
Well, that's an attractive offer.
I know a smart man when I see one.
Thanks. And I assure you I'm smart enough to know why you're making this offer.
What do you mean?
You're not impressed by me. You're impressed by the fact that I'm representing all of the homes you hold mortgages on. Well, I intend to keep it that way, since our only strength is in sticking together.
Now, Gorham, don't be a fool. I'll make my offer even more attractive. You listen to a deal.
Mr. Hobbs, the only deal I'll make will involve all 45 homeowners. When you're ready to talk one like that, call me up. Until then, you can whistle for your money. Goodbye.
Not a bad-looking house on the surface, Chief.
Take a closer look, Peters. Some of those clapboards up there are warped.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yes? Mr. Andrew Gorham? That's right. My name is David Harding. This is Mr. Harry Peters.
How do you do?
What can I do for you? Our credentials. From the United States Counterspies.
Oh, come in.
Thank you. I imagine you know why we're here.
Yes, I think so. Oh, won't you sit down? Or isn't that the customary procedure before an arrest?
Arrest?
Oh, I think you've got us wrong, Mr. Gorham. We're here just to ask questions.
Oh, well, go right ahead. We want to stay within the law.
Well, Mr. Gorham, what do you expect to gain by this?
Decent homes in good repair.
You weren't forced into buying this house, were you?
No, I know, Mr. Harding. Caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. But in a tight market like housing, I think the seller should have some responsibility for what he sells.
You've got a point there.
When did you notice defects beginning to show up in your homes, Mr. Gorham?
4 or 5 months after they were built.
You notified the building company?
Yes, but they didn't pay any attention until we all got together.
Oh? You're getting results, then?
Well, not exactly results, but we've made Mr. Hobbs of the Oak Nub Company rather unhappy.
I should imagine he would be.
He offered to fix up my house and possibly throw in a little money if I'd forget the whole affair.
Just your house, not the others?
That's right.
Sounds a little off-key, doesn't it, Chief?
Yeah.
I thought so, too.
If it were only faulty construction, Hobbs could take the case to civil court and make some kind of an adjustment that would be fair all around.
Yes, if he's an honest man.
Well, I know of nothing that could prove he isn't.
Well, I don't think a man who's on the level would have tried to buy you off.
I agree, Mr. Peters.
Mr. Gorham, what did you pay for this house?
$10,500.
Are all the houses in the development the same price?
No, they run from $9,500 to $12,500.
I see. Well, I'd like to run tests of the structural defects in a few of these homes, have a responsible builder look them over. Do you think that'd be all right with your neighbors?
I'm sure it would, Mr. Harding. We'll agree to anything to get some action.
You set that up, will you, Peter?
Right, Chief.
And, Mr. Gorham, if Mr. Hobbs should get in touch with you with another personal offer, let me know.
All right, Mr. Harding.
I can't guarantee results, but I can guarantee you that we'll make a thorough investigation of this whole affair.
Hello, Barney.
Oh, Hobbs.
Mr. Mankato up yet?
Yeah, he's having breakfast in bed.
Well, I have to see him right away.
He won't like that.
Neither do I, but there's a little trouble.
Trouble? I thought this setup was strictly legitimate.
Well, things go wrong.
And we put them right.
And I hope you can.
What is it, Barney? Who was it?
Hobbs, he wants to see you.
I'm sorry to disturb you at this time, Mr. Mankato.
Okay, you did. Now, what's on your mind? You got a simple job? There ought to be no problems.
I'm afraid there are, though.
What's so hard about collecting the mortgages I hold?
Simply, they won't pay.
What?
They're beginning to get wise to the fact that they were stuck with those houses.
I'll shed a tear for them. They bought them, they'll pay for them. Strictly legitimate.
You want the case to get to court?
Ain't gonna get there. They're gonna pay.
Not according to Andy Gorham.
Who's he?
One of the men who bought a house. He's representing them all.
Troublemaker, huh?
Well, he's not easy to get along with.
We'll see about that. Barney.
Yeah.
I advise you to be cautious, Mr. Mankato.
Keep your advice. All my dough is tied up in those houses. Money I got the hard way. Rum running in the 20s, policies in the 30s. Black markets during the war. Gonna keep it the hard way if I have to.
Well, times have changed, Mr. Mankato. People have different ideas nowadays.
Nothing changes. People are the same. They only wear different clothes. You push them around, they do like you say. I push.
Yeah? Gorham won't be easy. I tried to buy him off. He wouldn't sell.
One of those guys, huh? Barney knows how to handle them.
He'll still have the others to deal with.
Don't be a jerk. Barney, you were with me in that poultry racket in the Bronx.
Yeah.
What happens when you chop a chicken's head off?
He kicks a little and he dies.
Get the idea, Hobbs?
Don't be too hasty about this, Mr. Mankato.
Who's being hasty? Barney picks this guy up. We try to reason with him. If he don't reason, it's his tough luck that he's the head of the chicken. The part that gets chopped off.
Well, that fills in the picture with more to... Right. Goodbye. Hello, Chief. I've got something real interesting for you.
I've got something more than interesting. Criminal.
What?
I've been over to the local FHA office getting information via teletype from their Washington headquarters.
You can pin something on the realty company?
A false statement in their building application to the government. They said those homes they built wouldn't sell for more than $7,500. That's how they got their application approved.
I'm not surprised.
Why? What have you got?
Chief, you know who holds 90% of the company?
Who?
Mr. Christopher Mankato.
Chris Mankato, the racketeer who said he was going to retire?
That's the one. Only he doesn't seem to have kept his promise.
No, at the prices he sold those houses, his profit's 200%.
That's a racket in anybody's language.
We'll close in fast, Peters. So far, the company hasn't any idea that we're investigating. We should be able to attach all their files and records for criminal and civil prosecution.
What do we go for? Mankato or Hobbs?
Oh, first Hobbs. He signed the building application. He'll lead us to Mankato.
What about Andy Gorham, Chief?
Ask him to come down here. Start him on a full statement of the whole affair. I'll pay a little visit to Mr. Hobbs.
Mr. Harding, I had no idea your organization would be involved in this. It's a very unfortunate situation.
I'm sure it is.
Oh, I can see the viewpoint of Mr. Gorham and the rest of the homeowners, but, well, I have my stockholders to look out for.
And who are they?
Why, various people. I can't name them all offhand.
You go to great lengths to show your stockholders a profit, don't you, Mr. Hobbs?
What do you mean?
I have a copy of a building application you made to the government.
Oh.
You said those houses would sell for $7,500. You charged more than that.
Why?
A false statement is a serious offense, Mr. Hobbs. A prison sentence goes with it.
Well, I don't...
Never mind. I'll take that. Just sit where you are. Hello?
Open up realty company?
Oh, yes, Peter.
Oh, Chief.
What is it?
I can't locate Gorham.
What?
He left his office to go to lunch. He didn't come back, and he hasn't gone home. I don't like it, Chief. Particularly since Mankato's involved.
We'll find out if he's got anything to do with Gorham's disappearance soon enough. Come over here right away.
You've got Hobbs there?
I have. And I'll give you odds that he tells me everything we want to know before you arrive, including where Mankato is. Won't you, Mr. Hobbs?
You know, you're being silly, kid. You ought to listen to reason.
Well, what's your interest in this?
Don't be curious. Just be smart. Say the word, and you go out of here with a new house and a couple of bucks.
Well, suppose I did. You think the rest of the fellas would pay off and take it lying down?
I'll worry about that. You take away the head, you take away the power. See the deal?
No.
Okay, Barney.
Yeah, sure.
You're a jack, kid. Barney's hand can hold out longer than your face.
Yeah? Well, you won't get away with this.
The original, kid. Everybody says that. One last time. Is it a deal?
No.
Too bad. But in a way, it's good. You saved me some dough. Looks like you do a real job, Barney.
Okay. Here or someplace else?
Someplace else. I don't like funerals.
All right.
What do you mean? You're not going to...
Knock you off? Yeah, kid. Your object lesson number 1. Nobody likes to die, and they might think twice about kicking up a fuss with you as an example.
Let's can the chatter, Chris, and get it over with, huh?
Your department, Barney.
Yeah.
Open up, Mankato. Open up.
Somebody crossed us, boss.
Stay where you are.
Oh, Mr. Harding.
Untie him, Peters.
Right, Chief. Howdy, the Counterspies, huh?
That's right, Mankato. Easy, Barney. I wouldn't like to shoot you. All right, Andy?
Well, a little bit worse for the wear. I'm glad you came, and that's an understatement.
All right, Peters. Put cuffs on Mankato and Barney.
Okay, nobody's going to make trouble. I got lawyers.
You'll need them. What happened, Gorham?
Now, that gorilla Barney picked me up. I didn't know what it was all about.
Mankato's the man behind the Oak Nub Real Estate Company. That's his interest.
Yeah, and by rights, I should be suing this guy. He's the one who's not paying off. I just wanted to save the courts a lot of trouble.
That's nice of you, Mankato, but I'm sure they'll find it no trouble at all to convict you of false statements and fraud. Take them away, Peters. This is David Harding. Now we're happy to present the Executive Vice President of the National Association of Home Builders, Mr. Frank W. Cordwright.
The moral of tonight's episode is an important one. Don't buy a new home without knowing everything about it. Unfortunately, some fly-by-night operators, like the ones you've just heard dramatized, have tried to capitalize on the immense housing demand. In order to drive these unscrupulous people out of the home building business, we must have the help of the home buying public. Your part of the job is to be sure you're buying good value and quality. Be sure that the home is well constructed and well situated, that it is properly priced and financed, and that it is being built and sold by a reputable builder. These are all easy things to learn before buying a house, things that one generally makes very sure of before buying many less expensive things. Remember this. Home building requires skill, integrity, and years of experience. We came out of the war with a most serious housing shortage. But by this time, we're approaching the 2 million mark and are beginning to meet the most critical part of the veterans' housing needs. Speaking for the National Association of Home Builders, I can assure you that its many thousands of members will continue to build good houses at fair prices.
Thank you, Mr. Cordwright.
Tune in next Sunday, same time, same station, for the case of the photogenic crook whose gang dealt in hot money until the Counterspies worked out a scheme to put their activities on ice. The case of the camera-happy crook on David Harding, Counterspy. Tonight's David Harding Counterspy case was directed by William M. Sweets and was dramatized by Palmer Thompson, with music by Jesse Crawford and featured Don MacLaughlin and Mandel-Kramer. David Harding Counterspy is a Phillips H. Lord production originating in New York for the makers of Old Nick and Bitter Honey candy bars. Now, a listening reminder. When Drew Pearson looks ahead, he usually comes out with a fascinating prediction. Be sure to hear Pearson tonight over this ABC station. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
May 23rd, 1948, Counterspy on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We thank you so much for making us a part of your day. I want to apologize that last few minutes of that show were a little noisy, just kind of beyond my control. I couldn't clean them up much better than that, but I thought it was a really good story for you to hear. And it's a lesson today. Always get your homes inspected by a certified real estate inspector so that you know what you're getting into in your home. Let's see. Thank this station, support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that you're with us each and every Monday when we roll around here. Also, hope that you will visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting. You can contact me there as well. classicradio.stream. You can also find our shows at Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon by searching for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And please tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. I'll appreciate it. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.